Hello, welcome back to Dune Awakening. As you can tell, I've done some off-camera grinding, dumping over 40 more hours into the game.
Is it an addiction? No, I don't think it's an addiction. I think it does put me, it makes me happy.
My 5-floor high-rise has now been expanded with a hangar and 2 garages. I've actually filled up the 5 floors. With enough generators to power New York City,
the power of the sun in the palm of my hand.
Or just enough to power my refining, fabricating, and corpse juicing operation. I now have all the refineries needed to refine aluminum.
It's a lovely material to work with, aluminium.
And jasmium.
3.6 Rontgen, but that's as high as the meter.
3.6. Not great, not terrible.
Into duraluminum, one of the final tier of materials in the game. However, there is a problem. My base is located here, and all of the aluminum is located over here, which is far, far away. Even with what is one of the single most useful vehicles in the game, the buggy, this bad boy can fit so much aluminum in it, thanks to the massive mining laser that is more powerful than the handheld cut array, yielding way more ore than the cut array ever could. But I still have to drive it across the entire map essentially to get to the aluminum fields, which takes quite some time and fuel. So the goal for today's video is to build the Transport Thopter, which can carry the buggy to the aluminum fields much quicker and can also transport the buggy to the radioactive jasmium fields for easier mining. However, the Transport Thopter is constructed with materials only found in the Deep Desert. The Deep Desert is the PvP in-game zone for Dune Awakening, and it's not a place that treats solo players well.
Somebody shooting rockets? Rockets!
Nope.
Yep.
Big group!
Oh my god, I'm getting toasted.
There's a ton! There's a ton!
I'm coming from the south.
I'm gonna try to take us straight south, but we're probably gonna lose it here.
Straight north, so you guys will pass me at some point.
South. They're about to break my right wings. All right wings are about to break.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
There's one, two, there's so many.
It is the only source for in-game material like titanium, which is required for building the Transport Thopter. Needless to say, I wasn't overjoyed at the prospect of facing down a bunch of bloodthirsty PvP players, but I had to travel to the Deep Desert for these materials, so I fueled up my Scout Thopter and headed out. Oh, by the way, this is my Assault Thopter. I spent a good 7 hours grinding out the resources needed for it, but didn't know it's actually pretty pointless due to the Scout Thopter being better in almost every way. To get to the Deep Desert, you must fly to the edge of the map, and then travel via the world map to the Deep Desert. Now, before I can actually mine titanium ore, I must first build an improved cut array. In order to do that, I need a component that can only be found in Deep Desert crashed spaceships, which I found right away, and yeah, even the NPCs out here are built different. But after a small amount of cheese, I was able to obtain the parts I needed for my cut array. I then flew back to my main base and crafted my new cut array, and then headed back out into the Deep Desert in search of titanium. Now, you might know that the devs recently divided part of the Deep Desert into an exclusive PvE zone, so that solo players can acquire these in-game resources. However, it appears that the meta in the PvE zone is to build on top of these resources so that you can hoard them for yourselves.
You greedy dirtbag!
Since I was late to the game, I couldn't find any of the resources I needed inside the PvE zone, which meant I had to go into the PvP zone.
This is where the fun begins.
Far, far into the PvP zone, I finally came across not titanium, but another resource I needed. Stravidium? Which I didn't really have much problem finding at all. But titanium was nowhere to be found. I spent a good hour flying around until I finally ran across an island far into the Deep Desert that actually had titanium. I strip mined the place and headed out. Upon returning to my base safely tucked away in Haga Basin, I was ready to begin refining my titanium. However, while my medium ore refinery could produce the plastinium ingots that I needed by combining the titanium ore and strontium strands, my chemical refinery could not refine the strontium ore into strontium strands. I had to upgrade to the medium chemical refinery, which I had plenty of the resources needed, except for the spice. I hadn't really been collecting spice as I had no need for it yet, so I set back out into the deep desert to collect some. My understanding was that the deep desert had lots of spice, but of course you must get it, and then get out with it, alive. Thankfully, I came upon some spice fields in both Haga Basin and the deep desert, but when collecting spice, you also run the risk of attracting Shai Hulud. Keep in mind that if you are eaten by Shai Hulud, you lose everything.
What are you doing up there?
Staying away from you.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I'm gonna cry.
After collecting a ton of spice sand, I then constructed a spice refinery. With the amount of sand I had collected, I was expecting to be able to refine a ton of spice. However,
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man. What the fuck?
it turns out that it takes 100 spice sand to craft a single unit of spice. This means that I have to acquire 3,500 spice sand just for the medium chemical refinery. I also took a look at the Caryoptopter, and it turns out that it requires a grand total of 482,000 spice sand in its construction. In the 5 hours I spent farming spice for this video, I'd only acquired about 4,000 spice sand. Oh, also apparently the spice fields are also bugged sometimes, so it looks like they're there, but apparently they aren't.
Disappointed!
So this isn't going to work with the current equipment I have. So now it's time to upgrade. In order to better farm spice, not only in the deep desert, but also in Haga Basin, I need a Mark V ornithopter, which is faster and can glide much further than the Mark IV ornithopter, which means I can traverse the deep desert even quicker and also fly around Haga Basin much faster. However, I need duraluminum for it, and lots of duraluminum. So I start by upgrading my trusted buggy, which is a Mark III made out of steel, a mid-tier resource. Now, since I was strapped for aluminum, which is needed to craft the Mark IV and Mark V items, I decided that I would only upgrade the internals of the Mark III buggy, leaving it externally a Mark III buggy, but with the performance of a Mark V buggy, thanks to the Mark V engine and power pack and Mark IV treads.
Pop the hood.
I also upgraded the mining laser to a Mark V for better resource farming. I then set out in my Franken buggy, reaching speeds of 90 kilometers an hour. My god, the amount of aluminum this thing farms now. Racing back now takes way less time thanks to the higher speed of the Frankenwagen. This, along with a couple more trips to Shoal, gives me enough duraluminum to craft the Mark V Thopter. There's just 2 more resources I need: carbide scraps and diamond dust, however the hell you say it, both of which are held by the Mazkarat cult, who are something for sure. That's right, their base has a giant electrified sandworm on top of it. Why? I don't know. I've been too busy crafting things to actually care about the main story so far. Now, these guys are a bit of a pain, thanks to their snipers and soldiers spamming poison darts all the time. Their soldiers are also equipped with heavy armor. However, with duraluminum gear, they can be managed. After clearing out their little Mount Carmel, I headed back to construct my Mark V Scout Thopter. And this thing is awesome. It's so much faster than the Mark IV, and it feels like it glides forever. This little run I do right here, it's literally off of one little burst of power from the engine. The rest of it is pure gliding from my base almost halfway to the aluminum fields and back to my base. Unfortunately, I have to now return to the deep desert and farm the hell out of titanium and spice by myself. Which leads me to a very odd conclusion. Spice is supposedly the most valuable item in the Dune universe, and yet it's used in game to make everything from the transport thopter to the large storage containers, which seems a little odd in my opinion.
The most versatile substance on the planet, and they used it to make a frisbee.
Along with the fact that the small spice refinery takes 3 minutes to process 1 stack of spice sand into spice melange, which is the resource you actually need for crafting these materials. It's a real wall to run into after you get all the way up to duraluminum. Because you see, like, as you've seen here, it's no problem for me to acquire the materials to make duraluminum ingots. Even, of course, aluminum. It was even easier to get that when I was down at that tier. But the sudden whiplash you get from just progressing through the tech tree so fast to duraluminum and such, I mean, so fast I spent 60 hours in this game, and then you get to the point where you start needing, plastinium and spice, you just hit such a wall. And this is what many players are complaining about when they get to this point in the game with the game's endgame. Because at this point, you are essentially forced to go into the deep desert and try and get some of these in-game resources if you wish to keep researching the better and better equipment. So, I get it now. I remember hearing about all this when I started playing Dune Awakening all those weeks ago. And now, here I am at the same point. A solo player who's been having a fantastic time going at his own pace through Haga Basin and now needing those in-game resources to get the really cool equipment. And at this point, you're basically forced to either A, suffer in the deep desert as a solo player, like you have seen, even going into the deep desert, into the PvE zones, the resources you needed there are pretty scarce, and apparently, again, people are just building their bases on top of the titanium and the stravidium nodes. Or you have to go into the PvP zone where there's obviously less player bases, but then of course you run into the problem of potentially being ganked by, rabid hordes of PvP players, and now you lose your scout thopter, which if you're in a large guild, that's nothing to them, to be able to grind enough resources out to replace your scout thopter. But for someone like me, who I spent about, the first obviously 40 hours of the game grinding to the point to where I could get a scout thopter, redoing all that again, it doesn't really feel like a great time. And also, too, thinking about it a little bit more now, the base system is also kind of annoying. How you have to log in every 20 or so days to refuel your base's generators and such, just to make sure it doesn't crumble apart. I understand that obviously, you can't have these player bases everywhere, lasting for eternity. But considering that you can, transport your thopter into the pocket dimension with the vehicle backup tool, why can't you do that with your base? That way, when you come back into the game after a break for a while, you pop your base back out, and then there you go. I understand that they don't want people, just popping their bases all over the map, so maybe it could be like a once-a-month type of deal. Something like that. Don't know. But it just seems to be a little bit annoying, especially for players like myself who have essentially reached the end of the, crafting side of things at least, the end of the game, and where they can't really progress much further, or if they are, it's going to be at a much slower rate, to give us a chance to say, okay, well, I'm done with most of the PvE stuff for now, I'll come back when they release a story DLC. Sucks because your base is going to be gone in a couple of months, and then you're going to have to regrind this all over again. And keep in mind, with me no-lifing this game, this is at the 60-hour point. So, in 3 months when the first DLC comes out, if I haven't been playing this game and keeping up with my base, all of this will be gone. Think I'm going to come back for that DLC at that point? Probably not, but honestly, I'll probably keep playing on and off until then. So, from here on out, my options are A, go into the deep desert and try to get that titanium and spice, or B, shelf the game for some time. So let me know what you guys want in the comments down below. If you guys want to see me journey on into the deep desert and try to survive as a solo player, let me know all that in the comments down below. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and all of that jazz. Hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday, a wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.